Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to this Saturday show here on the 15th of February. It's the day after Valentine's Day. I hope you guys are all very well, all had a good time with your spouses, or you had a good time with your friends, or being yourself, or either enjoying a good Valentine's Day. As I said, we've got some bumper fixtures to talk about today, and we will preview, which is the big game of the weekend in the Championship on Monday night between Leeds against Sunderland. I spoke with Michael Bowers from the Championship Review earlier this week. We will hopefully play that shortly. We'll talk about some of the news, including the results in the Champions League, as well as the last Merseyside derby at Goodison Park between Everton against Liverpool. I will bring some team news and stuff coming up later during the course of the show. So let's get on to the fixtures, a big round of fixtures today, and let's go start off with in the Premier League 12:30 kickoff between Leicester City against Arsenal. That's a huge game for both sides. That Arsenal can get close the gap to 4 points behind Liverpool. Leicester City need to get another way to try to close the gap between Wolves and also the other teams threatening for relegation. Ipswich Town go away to Aston Villa later on at 3 o'clock. Fulham at home gets notified. This is another key game. The key games between for battle for Europe in the Champions League. Manchester City against Newcastle United. Bournemouth go way down to their local rival Southampton and the South Coast derby. Southampton, West Ham against Brentford later on today at 3 o'clock, and then the 5:30 kickoff. It is Crystal Palace against Everton. In the Scottish Premiership, Celtic at home to Dundee United. Celtic can increase their points ahead of Rangers. Dundee against Aberdeen later on today. St Johnstone go away to Kilmarnock. Motherwell against Ross County in the Saturday fixtures clock pressure. And in the Championship, it is two, 3:12:30 kickoff games. Bristol City go across the Severn Bridge to face Cardiff in the local derby. Portsmouth go away to Oxford United. Preston North End against Burnley at 12. Again, another Lancashire derby this weekend as well. Blackburn home to Plymouth Argyle, who have been on a good run from Plymouth. Norwich City go away up to the Humberside to face Hull. Luton Town against Sheffield United. Sheffield United can go on top this weekend ahead of the game on Monday night. Watford go away to Middlesbrough. Millwall gets West Brom. Sheffield Wednesday go at home to Coventry City, and Swansea City a poor run of form against Stoke City. Two games in League One in the lunchtime kickoff. Cambridge United at home to Exeter, and promotion chasing Wrexham away up to Northampton Town. A local derby in the Yorkshire derby between Barnsley, who's a town, later at 3 o'clock. Birmingham City gets Charlton Athletic. Manchester United go away up to Blackpool. Bristol Rovers against Burton Albion. Wycombe go down to Crawley Town. Leighton Orient at home against Lincoln City. What a close for Leighton Orient to nearly knock out Man City last weekend in the FA Cup. Rotherham United go away down to Reading. Shrewsbury Town against Bolton Wanderers. Peterborough United go down to Stevenage, and Stockport face a short trip up to Wigan Athletic. And in League Two, AFC Wimbledon against Salford City, and Doncaster Rovers against Grimsby Town in the 2:12:30 kickoffs. Bromley against Fleetwood Town. Carlisle United at home against Colchester United. Mark Hughes is in his first few games as the new manager. Barrow go away down to Cheltenham. Cruikshank go down to Kent to face Gillingham. Swindon Town face a trip up to West Yorkshire to face Harrogate Town. Morecambe at home to Accrington Stanley, a local derby. Newport County gets Bradford City later on today. Dons go up to Merseyside to face Tranmere Rovers, and Walsall against Chesterfield United. Some games in the National League as well. Solihull Moors go away to Barnet. Uh, York City away to FC United. Halifax Town gets Boston United. Mayday go away up to Hartlepool. Oldham left against Sutton. Rochdale go down to Essex to face Southend, and Yorktown gets Wellstone. In the Scottish Championship, only for Doug's team, Livingston at home to Dunfermline Athletic, and Creasback, who actually beat Rangers in the last weekend's Scottish Cup to get to the quarterfinal, they face Hamilton Academical. Hamilton and Patrick goes with Rovers. And in League Two, it's another local Edinburgh derby between Edinburgh City against Spartans later on today at 3 p.m. And then also look at the downs of the games in the around Europe. big game in the Bundesliga at 5:30. Bayer Leverkusen against Bayern Munich. The top of the table teams are going through as well. And good morning, Chris. I hope you're well. Yeah, I'm well, thank you. I hope you are too. If you want to join me, you're welcome to join me in the chat if you want. And we can go through and talk about what's going on at Carlisle and give your views about the Merseyside derby and very forth as well. If you're welcome to. And yeah, so big, in the La Liga, Villarreal gets Valencia later today. Real Madrid go with Osasuna later on at 3:30. In Serie A, it is Lazio gets Napoli on in the Serie A at 5 o'clock, and AC Milan at home to Hellas Verona on on Saturday. And going into Sunday's games, we've got some mouth-watering fixtures for you to see. Liverpool home to West to Wolves for 2 o'clock, and then it's a big game between both teams who are struggling at the bottom of the table. Tottenham against Manchester United, and also Hearts go at home to Rangers. That could be an interesting game if Hearts can get the win. Hearts have been on a good run, so they can get back into to the top six in the Scottish Premiership, and Hibs go way up to Paisley to face St Mirren. In also in the other games, there's no championship games this week on Sunday. Real Betis against Real Sociedad, one of the key games on at 8 o'clock in La Liga. In Serie A, it's the big one. It's the Derby Italia, Juventus against Inter Milan at 7:45 live on TNT Sports as well. And the big game on Monday night, it is the Leeds against Sunderland. That is going to be a key game coming up. It's going to be interesting who does well and blinks first. Can Leeds extend their points after this weekend ahead of Sunderland, or can Sunderland close the gap on the other teams as close to Burnley and Sheffield United? So those are all the key fixtures all today as well. So I also am talking about the Leeds from the game. It's a big game between both these teams. I will, like I said, I did a little video earlier this week along with my good friend co-host Michael Bowers on the Sun, and this is what we talked about earlier this week about the head of the game, Monday night's game. Joining me as usual before the head of the Leeds against Sunderland game on Monday is my co-host for the Championship Review, Michael Bowers. Michael, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning. How are you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. Right, let's. It's the big game of the next week's game week coming up.
You mean the biggest game of this weekend's fixtures?
Yeah,
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 agreed.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Leeds against Sunderland on Monday night. What are your expectations of this game, especially really two of the top four teams that are vying for promotion? How do you set what the expectations on Monday night?
Um, it's a strange one, really, because I think obviously, look, there's no getting away from your form over the last few weeks. I mean, what is it? You've only won games like 7-0, 2-0, 4-0. So, pretty close games, I'd say. So it's going to be quite a tight affair. Not being serious, yeah, look, I don't think any Sunderland fans under any illusions how hard this game is going to be, and particularly at Ellen Road. I think apart from Burnley, you haven't lost at home in the league this season, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, I'll give you an example. I know this was, I know this was a few months ago, but I remember you played Sheffield United. You might remember this on a Friday night back in October, and it finished 2-0, but it literally should have been 5 or 6, which was how dominant you were. And at that point, you were missing Ampadu and Gruev, I believe.
Yeah,
So so straight away it shows the depth that Leeds have got, that you were able to sort of switch it around like that and still able to dominate. But no, on Monday I'm expecting a very, very tricky game. I would expect Leeds to have a lot of the ball. I think the way. I mean, I know there's been question marks. I've had a couple of Leeds fans ask me on social media how they think Sunderland will set up, and I think it's going to be a case of us kind of sitting in to an extent, because apparently from what I've heard, the one weakness Leeds tend to have is that when a team sit in the low block, they find it harder to break them down. Granted, which sounds ludicrous considering you've scored 13 goals in your last 3 league games combined, but um, I don't know how many of those teams came out to play football against you, which is going to be, you'll know better than me on that. But I would expect us to try to sit in, absorb a bit of pressure, and then hit you on the break. Because one thing something they're quite good at when we're on it is quick, free flowing transitions, and I think that's where we could potentially get joy. But like, yeah, I look at Leeds' depth, and I look at Leeds squad and go, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. Anyone who's going to be on the ball, I'm going to be like, every time. But this way, every time you come into our third, I am going to be absolutely petrified. Put it that way.
Well, listen, it's gonna be an interesting game on Monday night. One thing was let's talk about your team. You've good win against Luton. I know you've had a bit of a disappointing draws. Recent one against Watford. Um, do you think the second place is slipping away from you a little bit, or do you still think you're in the hunt towards the end of the season? With the depth of your
Mm.
squad as well, you've improved. Signing Wilson Easton on a permit deal, Enzo Lefebvre on loan has scored a
Yeah, he
strong
did.
goal against Luton as
Yeah.
well. So how do you think with your form, with you guys' form, do you think you should have been a little bit more closer, or you respect to where you are, despite the recent
Yeah.
setbacks?
Yeah, look, obviously last night, well, at the time we were speaking Thursday morning, because basically we said we were caught after the midweek fixtures had been played, but last night was absolutely needed. There's no getting away from that. I think with the last two home games prior to this, we drew 2-2 against Plymouth and then a 2-all draw against Watford, but both of which for different reasons were very, very frustrating. And I'll make it clear, Sunderland didn't deserve to win either of those games. We weren't on it very much, but I think just to get on before I got onto Luton, what frustrated me against Watford was that the last 5 minutes when we really started to get at them, when we equalised, the momentum was with us. We created two massive chances to win the game, and I'm like, why didn't you do this earlier? Then you could have ended up beating Watford, and then of course you end up going and putting four past them. So but look, obviously, like I've said, Leeds' squad's is different compared to ours, where you've got the bigger ability to be able to just break teams down. But obviously, there were a few Watford mistakes in there. But back to the point with Luton, no, we needed to get that win. We needed to just and in the end, keep ourselves within the hunt for automatics. And look, I still think top two is going to be a massive ask for us. We all know that because of how the finances. I know it's obviously an easy thing to say for a fan of a non-parachute team to say, but it is true. Like parachute payment teams do have an advantage over the rest of the division, and they've earned that right by being in the Premier League. So we've not been in the Prem since 2017. So hopefully that changes at the end of this season, but one way or another. But I would suspect if we are going to get promoted, it probably is going to be via the playoffs. But you never know. Look, I've said before, and there was a few of our fans on Tuesday night when News were winning against Watford going, oh no, Leeds are winning. I'm like, guys, forget Leeds. Like, just forget Leeds. Write Leeds off. That is just gonna be they're just gonna be ending up proving to be too good for nearly everybody else. As for second place, ideally, I don't want to go into the game against you 8 points behind Sheffield United. But obviously, we can't control that. It all depends if Luton bother to do us a favour at home. Which, as I said to you before we started recording, if last night's anything to go by, and that's how Luton play for the rest of the season, then I'm not very optimistic of Luton getting anything. I'd take Luton just drawing, to be honest. If Sheffield United don't win, then maybe we'll wait and see. But I mean, as for this game, yeah, I think if the gap starts getting to 7 points, 8 points, and stays at that, then yeah, um, it's probably done in that regard. But even then, the attention for me would then shift to if we're out of the mix for the top two, then you at least want to get on a good run of form for the playoffs. You want to go into it on good form, good momentum. Because I would back Sunderland to win the playoffs if we did get in there. It just depends on which team misses out on seconds, but I still think personally it's going to be you guys in first and one of Burnley or Sheffield United in second. Which one? I have no idea. I keep flip flopping back and forth between the two of them because I feel Sheffield United's performances have results have masked some of their performances, but at the same time, Burnley on average don't score that many. I know they won. I know they won last night, but in general, they've had quite a lot of nil-nils, and defensively they're excellent. But I would question: do Burnley score enough to end up finishing in the top two? Well, I suppose they keep clean sheets every week. They do, but it's a bit easier said than done. But yeah, so I don't know. I think second. I think depending on results at the weekend, second place can still be up for grabs. But if it starts getting to 7 or 8 points, then I think I'll be mentally preparing myself for a playoff campaign. And even if we don't make the top two, there's no shame in the fact that we can't keep up with three clubs that have got parachute payments. And we've still had a very, very good season. We've still had a very good season. There's no getting away from that. But my hope is when Romain Mundle and Tommy Watson come back fit, and this is also dependent on Wilson Isidore staying fit, Enzo Lefebvre staying fit, Dan Neil, Joe Bellingham staying fit, Chris Metham staying fit. It all depends on the spine of our team staying fit. But you just never know. You just never know. So I think after we played you guys, we have I think our toughest games after yous are like Sheffield Wednesday away, Coventry away, and West Brom away, and to a lesser degree Norwich away. I know they lost the last couple of them. They lost against Preston and Drew Derby, but at home they're generally all right. But they're difficult games, but they're not on the level of a Leeds. So, you know, we'll wait and see. If we are going to have a chance of top two, I suspect we're going to need to win nearly all of our remaining home games and try and scrape some results on the road. If you don't mind, I'll ask you a question. What are your thoughts going into Monday night? Obviously there's going to be confidence, but at the same time acknowledging that obviously we're in the top four picture. So even if you do beat us, I'd like to hope we at least make you work for it if you do end up winning.
Yeah, listen, my thoughts on it is probably what you said is we're gonna have to work hard to get that win against the top four side, and that's gonna be the key one. I think the early start of the season where we lost to Burnley, I think when Better scored earlier, they just went in low, very
Low
low
block defensively, yeah.
block defensively, and we struggled with that. I think we've kind of mixed it up a little bit. I think we still do the low block, we still low crosses stuff, but we mixed it a bit with high crosses a little bit. But I think if we could try the first 15 minutes, is going to be the vital point and see where the teams are. If it's 50-50 possession, I think it's anyone's game. I think if Leeds dominate that possession compared to we had less possession against Watford and on Tuesday night, I think if we take that, I think we'll seize the opportunity with with really going in with that with the pressing of when Leeds are trying to
Yeah.
get the ball back. So I think it's going to be interesting Monday night completely. Well, last time we played was at the Stadium of Light back in October. We got
Yeah, for reasons you're not going to want to remember.
it's not good for the times they were start the
Yeah.
season under for Eli Millier, who cost them the game to lead to a 2-2 draw. The way the ball bounced, but do you see? You can't see nothing like that. I think it's going to be two teams attacking against each other.
Yeah, I think I'm expecting. Well, I'll put it this way: I've said to you before with Melier quickly on him that for me, I've said, and you've heard me say this a few times. For every bad mistake he makes two or three really, really good saves. It's just unfortunate that again the goalkeeping errors are what people remember and sort of lean towards and latch onto when judging Melier. Look, there probably is a question that you probably, if and when you do get promoted, you may need a better goalkeeper. But as of right now, I think Melier is fine enough. I think he's gonna. I mean, if he wants to let in another clanger on Monday night, that'd be great. And then, but I suspect that he will. I wonder if that'll be in the back of his mind because what happened in the reverse fixture. But I very much doubt it. I think it'll be. I think with Leeds, obviously, you mentioned about the aggressive press, and I think when you press compared to say when Sheffield United press or Burnley Burnley don't press that much, do they? To
No,
be fair,
no,
but
no.
I was going to say that was probably the wrong example. But same with Sheffield United, and it's no slight on Sheffield United because your quality is just better than theirs is. Your quality is better than everyone else in the league, really. But your press is very aggressive, but it's very coordinated. There's pressing with a purpose. Like there's a difference between pressing just for the sake of pressing and then pressing as a unit. So say one person goes forward, another one goes in sync, or and one goes forward, another one struts into a position in case the press doesn't work. And it's a hard balance to get right. But you know, I remember that I watched a bit of your game against Sheffield Wednesday at Ellen Road a few weeks back, and it was a game where 3-0 probably flattered you, but you still did deserve to win because you had the better of the opportunities. And early on in particular, your early pressing forced Sheffield Wednesday, I believe I'm right, forced your first goal against them. So, and I've got no doubt in my mind, the atmosphere on Monday night will play a very, very big part because, as we've both agreed, I think it's the two biggest clubs in the league going at each other. And I think it's also the fact it's a potentially, well, depending on the weekend results for us, I suppose, but it's a top four game, a potentially top two deciding game. So like I said to you, I think it's one of those games that I'm kind of dreading it because of what your quality's like going forward. But at the same time, if we want to have a chance of top two, we need to compete in games like this. So, but yeah, I mean, if you're looking at it on Monday, I think yous are probably going to have more of the ball. But I think it's one where obviously what suits you well is if we do end up having to be a low block a bit, and we know I'm expecting large periods of the game where Sunderland don't have possession, but there's obviously, as you know, against Watford, if you said Watford had more of the ball against you, just because you have more of the ball doesn't mean you're going to win the game.
Yeah,
It's all about what you do when you have the ball. And I'll give you an example. Like earlier this season, we beat Middlesbrough 1-0 at the Stadium of Light. They probably had about 2/3 of the possession. That's fine. did next to, apart from a Tommy Conway header in the first 6 minutes, they did next to nought with it. So it's all about what you do with the ball and how productive you are when you do have it. So that's one element I could possibly see playing into Sunderland's hands, but you know, there's no getting away from it. I would expect Leeds to come out, and as you said, the first 15, 20 minutes is vital. I think for us to have a chance of getting a result, we need to not concede in the opening 20 minutes. If we can keep it at 0-0, as long as possible, then you know, we often have this habit of when we go one goal up, we sit back. So maybe what we'll do is if we go in front, just wait till the 96th minute, go in front, then we've only got 30 seconds to sit back. But I think it'd be a very hard ask to keep Leeds out, especially at Ellen Road. When you've got players like Dan James, Joe Perul, Solomon, Ampadu, Gruev in the midfield, you've it's just littered with abundance of quality. So it's going to be an extremely tough ask. But if we get through the first, I want to ask you this because, like I said, for me, if you go 1-0 up in the first 20 minutes, I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be a long night. But if see, what do you think? What do you think the crowd would be like if, say, Sunderland did somehow manage to get through the first 20-25 minutes and you haven't took the lead against us? Is there going to be a bit of patience because we're in the top four race as opposed to if you're playing who's down the bottom, Luton, for example, if you know what I mean?
It's a good question. I think there will be a bit of impatience after 25 minutes, and that's been a general problem with how we are. We If we don't score after 25 minutes
Mm,
or so, there's a bit of impatience where they need to
yeah,
shift it to another gear, and that's something we need to prepare completely with that one. I think that's what we need to prepare the impatience. We need to either
mm,
get the crowd to be patient after 25, but I don't think we will. I think it's just going to be more. We need to shift another gear to find
yeah.
to find a way to get through your back four. So it's gonna be an interesting after it's gonna be how does Leeds deal with this? How does the fans deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the impatience thing with the home crowd, that's not exclusive to Leeds. I think our crowd's like that. A lot of crowds in England are probably like that. Unless you're a crowd in England that's at home used to losing all the time, then it's, because then it's also like oh, well, I've gone 1-0 down first 20 minutes. Well, big deal, we'll lose every week anyway. Whereas if you've got aspirations for something, then if a team holds you out, then that's going to be the key for Sunderland to get a result to start off with. Because if any of our fans are expecting us to go to Leeds and Leeds to sit off us, I think they'll have another thing coming because like that's you know I think if we can keep yous out for the first 20, I mean ideally I want us to keep yous out for the whole game, but again much easier said than done. So if we keep yous out for the first 20-25 minutes and we keep it 0-0 or even if you went ahead early, if we keep it at 1-0, keep ourselves in the game, then you just never know what can actually happen. I mean, obviously for the wrong reasons for you lot, but like the game at the Stadium of Light when we were looked like we were going to lose, and then out of a freak incident, out of nothing, it's twos all. Twos each. Something like that can very well easily happen. But I wonder whether I've spoke to a couple of I've spoken to a couple of Leeds fans actually, and I think a couple of them but there's at least two of them have said to me on social media they would take a point on Monday, and I think a point in general would probably be a better result for Leeds than for Sunderland, only in the sense that you've already won your last few. You're at the top. If, say, you avoid defeating the next two games against Sunderland and Sheffield United, I would back you heavily, especially with a lot of your home games left, to maybe not win out all of them 7-0, but to to obviously, I mean, I'm sure your fans would love that,
I would
but
love that
not
completely. Yeah,
yeah, just no stress whatsoever. Just have a nice little casual night, casual days out. But yeah, I would back you to win most of your home games. But I think obviously, from your perspective, how big do you think these next two games are for Leeds this season?
I
In
think
particular, with winning the
I
title.
think that I think it will define Leeds' season of define Leeds' season completely of where do we have the guts to now finish top and not screw around compared because the team when we played against Watford last season that was the start of our downfall and we came through Watford comfortably better than we did last season. So I think now we need to now really realizing we need to with the kettle with the situation we need to keep our expectations quite low because yes we could score comfortably and not concede a goal, but we have to make sure that we don't go through what we went through last season when
Yeah.
after the Watford game when the international break every screwed over. So we need to get to the next international break comfortably way well points ahead, but we've got to make sure that we make sure that momentum is still there after the last international break of the season.
I think as well, if you get to the last international break, I mean, what are you on? 69 points now, I
Yeah,
think. So, I mean, realistically, I think you need another probably 7 wins, and you've seven, maybe even 8 wins at most, and you've got at least automatic promotion, I would think. And I think one of the biggest, I think probably one of the factors in, because obviously you mentioned that Watford game last season, that was 2-2, wasn't it? Around Easter time, I think it was.
yeah,
So I think with that one, probably because of the pressure of having to win every game to keep up with Leicester and Ipswich, or Ipswich in particular, was probably different. Whereas it depends on your psychology, because if you're the team getting chased, then obviously that can feel different. But
yeah,
I think the fact if you keep winning, you're then forcing the teams behind you. Look, I don't think we're in the conversation to catch us. But say Burnley and Sheffield United, for example, they might think, "Oh God, Leeds have won again. Oh God, they've won again." The mentality is so different in that regard. And I think if you get 90 to 95 points, which your squad's very capable of doing, then it's going to take a lot for the other teams to get close to you, I think. So it's going to be one where, I mean, how many games is there till the next international break? It's like 6 or 7 games, I think
six
it is left.
or
So
seven. Yeah,
yeah. So, well, like I said, ideally you lose this game and then go and win every game afterwards. Because, like I've said to you before, whenever our fans were talking about catching lead, this is why, if you remember, a couple of weeks back when you played Burnley, I wanted you lot to beat them because what was happening now was what I said weeks ago would happen with Leeds, and some of our fans were going, "No, but we can." Oh, we know, but Leeds are still in touch and distance. And I said, guys, we're not catching Leeds. Forget it. Forget Leeds. Just look at the other. That's why when I want to say, well, if Leeds win, that's one less point Burnley can get, and we can catch. So, but yeah, I mean, if you get to around start of April between 85 to 90 points potentially, then at least if you then have to have a dip later on, if you win enough games now, you've allowed yourself enough of a buffer where a dip isn't going to cost you or is much less likely to cost you. But no, I think for Leeds these next 2 games are really, really obviously massive for them because it's obviously the top 4 sides. After these 2 games, you've played everybody else in the top 4, haven't you?
yeah.
Twice. So, I mean, I know you've got West Brom at home afterwards, but I would imagine, and I think West Brom will be quite tricky for you, but I think it'll be a one where at home, I would still back you to end up doing the job because I think Daniel Farker in particular will probably outwit Tony Mowbray. And I love Tony Mowbray, but he's not the best. He's not the best manager from a tactical point of view. But yeah, I mean, look, these two. Look, I mean, I don't know what you're feeling about Monday, but like I said, I'm kind of dreading it because of how you can't ignore the form you're in. But at the same time, you kind of live for games like this. You live for the sort of big games, and we obviously both hope for different reasons that this is the Premier League fixture next season. So if I mean, I always get comments. I've always seen comments, people thinking, "Oh, it's crazy how Brentford versus Brighton's a Premier League fixture, but Leeds Sunderland isn't a Prem fixture." But obviously we know that size of the club doesn't guarantee promotion. You have to go out and earn it the same way everyone else does. That's the beauty of sport and achievements. So yeah. No, I was just to ask you, how are you feeling about Monday? Because as I said, I'm dreading it, but I'm also looking forward to it at the same
It's a
time.
bit of both. I'm in the same scenario as you. The same scenario as you. Dreading it, but I'm gonna enjoy it. It's the pre-match tensions that we both have. It just we'll go into this match and see what happens in the 90 minutes. So that's gonna be vital
Yeah.
for both of our sides. And final from you, what's your score prediction?
It would be classic Sunderland to turn up in this game and then not beat Hull a week later. I wouldn't be shocked if we got a point. I would be shocked if we won. I'm not going to lie. But it depends. It depends. You ask me with my heart on my head. I'll give you 2 predictions. My head says we'll probably lose 3-1. And I think with Leeds, the difference for me in mindset is when we went to Burnley and Sheffield United, I felt we could get a result of both of them, as in win both of them
Yeah,
away from home. Whereas with this one, I'm like, you know what? If we get a win, then it's definitely the result of our season, and it's one that even if we somehow beat you on Monday, for me that won't matter to your title hopes because I still think you'll go on to go and win the league. I'm just hoping that, but obviously I'll be rooting for you to hopefully batter Sheffield United a week later, as long as you can, as long as we can get a result against you. No, head says I think we'll lose 3-1. And I suppose my heart will say we'll do the most Sunderland thing ever, where we'll get a 2-1 win and we'll scrap for our lives and basically win the same way Burnley did. If we are going to win, I suspect it's going to have to be how Burnley won against us. But, we'll wait and see. Right, so, yeah. I think heart says 2-1 Sunderland, but realistically, my head says 3-1 Leeds. What about
Uh,
yours?
yeah, I would. I got two minds, like the heart and the head. So I would say my head, same score as you, 3-1 to lead because I think you will score, but I think we'll just dominate. My heart, I'd probably say a 1-1 draw to beat and just keep it, or we scrape it 2-1, or you scrape it 2-1. So I've got multiple my hearts with that one. So yeah.
Well, yeah, that's it's going to be it's going to be definitely an interesting evening. I'm definitely interested to see what the atmosphere is going to be if we score. This is going to sound so Captain Obvious, but if we're going to have a chance of winning the game, I think we have to score first. I think if we score first, then anything can happen at that point. And I'm not saying you can't turn it around because you
No,
obviously
of course
can,
not.
but I think it's a mighty ask. I can't remember. Have you ever? How many points have you dropped when you've scored for the first goal?
Not as much.
No.
Quite low in the single figures actually.
Yeah. Because I know that obviously you were in front against us at the Stadium of Light, but we scored first in that game. What I mean
Yeah,
is when you go 1-0 up, then.
yeah, it was against Blackburn, so we've dropped like
Oh, yeah, I forgot
five
about that.
points against Blackburn and Hull pretty
Yeah.
much
But
this
it's quite
season.
it's quite a low figure, isn't it, though, in terms of when you
Yeah.
score first, if you drop points. So look, if we score first, anything can happen. But here's a final one from you, and for both of us. Who's going to be the top two at the end of the season?
I'm gonna
I'll,
say Leeds. I
to be
think
honest, I think it'll be Leeds and one of Sheffield United or Burnley. I just
I
don't know which
yeah,
one.
I think Burnley could edge it because if they're not going to see the goals, I think depends if they can win. But I think Sheffield United, because they now start to get the players that come in have started to pick up the form. I think Sheffield United will get that second place just ahead of Burnley. I think
Yeah,
Burnley will just miss out because they're not did it strengthen. I know they got John Joe Shelby and Ashley Barnes back, but it's going to be the question who can do the goals from the rest of the team. So it's going to be. I think Sheffield United will just edge it because they've got not say so loud to us, but they got that attacking what they need to do, the
mm,
strength and depth to
yeah.
to play to change the moments and games.
Yeah, I think I'd say Leeds and Sheffield United, but my prediction for second changes every week. Um, I'm obviously still begging that Sunderland do it, but I wouldn't bet against us winning the playoffs if we ended up being it. I'm not saying we definitely will, but I wouldn't bet against we're actually winning it. So it'll be quite fitting if that was the top two, and then we beat Burnley in the playoff final via an Isidore penalty against James Trafford at Wembley. That would just be a very fitting way to end the season after the shenanigans of a month ago at Turf Moor. So we shall see. We shall see. I mean, look, hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully we're both wrong about second place, and that it's us who gets second. But I suspect it will be Leeds and Sheffield United. I'm very confident you will win the league, though.
We will see. We will see. Michael, thank you very much. I know you won't be on this Sunday. Have a good weekend trip away, Manchester. But we'll see you back next Sunday for to do the con with you, myself, and Annie on this.
Well, Annie of Bristol City have won.
Yeah, we hope.
Yeah.
We
To be
hope.
fair to him, he did turn up last week when they lost. I will give him that.
Give him that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Michael, thank you very much as always. And that was myself, Michael Bowers from the Championship Review as well. So interesting enough, we've discussed about our predictions and stuff as well. And let's go into the comments. I did have a lot of those comments come through. Yeah, good morning, Anthony. Hope you're well too. Yeah, and Chris, what should be 0-0 now? I'm joking. Expect goals, leads, or draw. He expect Bristol. Anthony expect Bristol or City to win two-way points there, but part of me said we won't and finish 10th of the season. Chris also said he would like to see both Leeds and Sunderland back in the Premier League. Yeah, I think that's hopefully it's going to hopefully we'll see it happening. Anthony said he think Leeds will win the league, and if I'm honest, maybe Burnley second. Chris has also said no disrespect to Burnley Sheffield United. I got fans nothing against it, but I swear to come up a goal, go straight back down. He's given his prediction for the Monday night's game a 2-2 draw, so the same draw we had earlier in October at the Stadium Light. Anthony, you've asked us a questions. What team has surprised you most in the championship so far? I think before John Eustace went to Derby, I would say Blackburn has probably been more the surprising team the way they've done well. It's a question of they lost some good key players as well, but as I said, but I think who they're going to bring in is going to be interesting downfall with that one. I think the team that surprised me the most is probably being Sheffield Wednesday. I think after what's been going on at the club with the ownership and Danny Rowe and Oxford have done quite well. They took a massive, big gamble of sacking Des Booker and bringing Guy Rowe. It's probably been the biggest difference, I think. And I think Chris has hit the nail. He said the same thing as well. And he said Lee's a top two for me. And it's not to me doesn't like Wilder. So does Michael doesn't like him as well. And he thinks and you think that Scott Parker wins playoffs. That's true. He's always got a good record in the playoff final. Scott Parker when he's got teams promoted. He's done that with Fulham as well. You've said Oxford as well too. So yeah, it's going to be interesting week this week. Key games as well. We've got some team news ahead of the game at King Power Stadium. Ruth Van Nistelrooy has made two changes after the FA Cup match against Manchester United. Hermanis is in goal with Justin Faze and Oakley and Christian in the back four. Needy and Somane up in the midfield with Cornelius. Dakova Reed, Ayo Vardy up front. And for Arsenal, devastating injury to Kai Havertz during the Dubai training warm up as well. So it looks like this is so Raheem Sterling will play up front along with Trossard and Nareri. Trossard expected to play century in his place. And yeah, Ben White is back in the line, back in this in the squad bench as well. So, but he's a big news today, and ahead of we expecting around the 40th minute in the last game, the protests to the reference of Adrian Silva's move from Sporting when the missed the registration deadline after the protest due to the running of the club as well, and they have been asking to wear yellow related to the royal family as well. They criticise the club for the lack of accountability and transparency, which the Dynamo seems to lost as well. And yeah, you see here earlier today, this is on what's going on social media of the LED advertising of John Rudkin asking hashtag Rudkin out. You see the pictures of him, wearing a clown, the clown as well. It's going to be an interesting protest today against the director of football as well. This is what the Ben said from Leicester. You know, it's what there is an ALC protest. It's not saying it gets through. It's but the total mismanagement by the ball for several years. It is not a direct reaction to poor performances. It's a result of years of terrible decisions at board level. The people who have not put their protest giving history of fans of the fans being issued against fans. The 2015-16 club that every fan is married no longer exists. It's going to be an interesting game. And yeah, Chris, I like you just said, massive pressure for Arsenal. For me, it's injuries out of two, regardless of Liverpool result as well. We are going to go into the Merseyside result as well and look at the Merseyside derby. What a way for the end of the last Merseyside derby at Goodison Park. And, Everton took the lead from Beto from a very good free kick, from a good free kick set piece as well. Then Liverpool scored from Alexis McAllister with a header, made a draw. And then really late in the game, it was getting very tense as well. Very, and then luckily a good, Liverpool took the lead. We thought they won the game through Mohamed Salah in the 73rd minute, and then all of a sudden, a very dramatic last gap equaliser from James Tarkovsky. What a volley in the conclusion to the end of the final minutes of that Goodison Park before Everton moved to the new stadium at Bramley Dock Moors later this summer. And it flared at the end of the game as well with Abdul Decore, taunting Liverpool fans, and Curtis Jones they squared up. Both the pair were sent off. Also, Arne Slot and his assistant, Spike Spicky Hislop, also were dismissed after the final whistle. There was Liverpool adamant that Tarkovsky's level should have been ruled out for a shove in the build-up. And look, we know that Arne Slot has been charged by the FA. Will he still be on the touchline tomorrow? But we won't know the outcome if he will have a match, either a touchline ban or a stadium ban. We won't know yet. We'll get some news hopefully in the next matter of days and weeks. But I watched this game and I think it was really, really good. It was end to end stuff. I thought Liverpool just edged it completely. It's they did, but I think Everton had the results coming back and the fans were on the pitch and stuff as well, which was a lot of minutes played in the last 7 minutes of injury time. So Chris, you said you're still Liverpool's still in a strong position, still 7 points clear. The goal difference is a buzz. It's a derby as it happens. Liverpool just need to get through those games for me. I agree. Yeah, it's interesting. Interesting. You should listen to what Doug said on his football channel, which I will put in the description after the content, and hopefully it will he will have he had his probably his 7 minute rant on what he said about the game of how that Merseyside derby ended. But in the end, I think it was a fair draw, and could we see start getting a warm up? So depends what's been said in the notes after from the referee's notes after the game. So we will keep an eye on that in the next coming days as well. So yeah, as I said, it was an up and down game as well. Let's do talk about the Champions League, the playoff, and the Europa League as well too. Earlier this week, if you're a Man City fan, you should not be bloody putting up bloody messaging and all that shit to tell Vinicius Junior to stay humble stuff, and that's what happened when Jude Bellingham scored in the 92nd minute to give Real Madrid a 3-2 advantage ahead of the second leg next weekend. Erling Haaland scored in the 90th minute, his first goal against Real Madrid. Kylian Mbappe scored the equaliser in the 60th minute, and then Haaland scored the penalty in the 8th minute. Then two late goals from Brahim Diaz, and then the winner from Jude Bellingham in the 92nd minute. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Man City's fighting for the survival. Survival to stay to get into the last 16 is going to be quite interesting as well. Yeah, it's just both too well. Man, Real Madrid, despite the injuries, they still come away to get the result, to get the result completely to win against Man City. I think this has always been like a rivalry between these two teams in the Champions League, and actually the question is how will it affect Man City's finances? Because that's going to be questionable. I know we always said Man City have got loads of money, but financially, this could affect them towards the end of the season. And you know that it's going to be, with the injuries to Akanji's out, he's going to miss the game as well. So let's look at how the financial stuff will affect Man City if this happens. It could affect them massively if they don't get beyond the last 16. I think it's going to be, with the aging squad as well. I think it's going to be they need a lot of change again going into summer as well. And then to see what Chris has said as well. As a Liverpool fan, Joe's right to do that. Yeah, but shouldn't have said change up heads up like McCarthy did to your fans. Agreed. I just think Arsenal dropped 3 points. I can't see Arsenal be perfect. I think our title was done by the time as players, to be honest. Both will still drop points. Arsenal drop even more. I think you know what, Chris. I think the problem is with Arsenal not getting a striker in January when I don't understand that if you were in the title race, yes, I know you were looking at the players, but if you're going to do the business to try to close the gap to Liverpool and try to either, get close, to try to, close the gap what Liverpool has up front with Salah, Gakpo. I know Nunes doesn't score much goals, but when he comes on, he acts that bit more pace up front. So I think the question is Arsenal don't, if Man City don't get, I think when Man City, if Arsenal don't get a striker, they're just well behind. I think this is what Arteta's doing, what Guardiola did in his first few seasons. Man City playing a false nine up front, and I think some clubs are now moving away from the false nine. With Man City having a poacher like, with Haaland and also, Omar Masuda, who's going to be probably rotate with Haaland, as well as the other teams as well, like Liverpool with Salah, Diaz who could play up front, Jota as well. So at least you got that. That momentum, but yeah, Arsenal dropped points early this season's really hit them. Yeah, it has. It's really hit them. They should have won against Man City at the Etihad, the way they went to the Darkest football, and some certain results have cost them. It's cost them completely. So, but back in the Man City situation, I think for them, they have to get this. They have to to get they need to win in the Champions League against Real Madrid in the return leg next week, and have to win big completely as well. And Liverpool have got, I think Chris said, Liverpool got options off bench too. They do. It's like they got a better depth as well compared to Arsenal's depth. It's quite limited. So yeah, I just think we'll see how this is going to go over the weekend. I think if Arsenal don't win early, well, if Arsenal don't win this week, well, against they don't win in the next 45 minutes later on today at the start of the 12th, I think kick off against Leicester. It's going to be questionable, really is. So I just said, listen, I think we know there is going to be a bit of it's going to be an interesting weekend how the results are going to be as well. But as I see here, it's just what we're seeing at the moment with Man City, with the Champions League teams. Let's look at the other results as well. And there were some key battles in the last couple of days in the Champions League results as well. So let's go look and see what results earlier this week. So yeah, at Celtic, Bayern Munich take a 2-1 lead over to the Allianz Arena against Celtic. Michael Olise and Harry Kane both scored in the game in the second half, and well, by Day and Days and Maeda scored in the same time. Celtic had a chance to get to draw to level, but they don't go by goal down. But yeah, we will see how it goes in the return leg. AC Milan are 1-0 down against Feyenoord and lost 1-0 away. Benfica took a 1-0 win away at Monaco. PSG beat the Liga and counterparts Brest 3-0 in the first leg. Juventus take a slight lead into 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 Iron on next week against PSV with a 2-1. Borussia Dortmund beat Sporting's 3-0 as well. Also in the other fixtures in the Europa League game fixtures and the Conference League as well, the last amount of days. Fenerbahce took a 3-0 lead, taking a 3-0 lead into the second leg. Victoria Pilsen losing 1-0 at Hungary side Fenerbahce. Michelin losing 2-1 at home to Real Sociedad. Ajax winning 2-0 with Unis St. Galiz. Galatasaray losing 4-1 away at AZ Alkmaar. FCSB winning 2-1 against PAOK. Porto drew 1-1 against Roma, and SC20 taking a slight lead, a goal advantage to Bodo Glimp with a 2-1 win on Thursday. In the Conference League, Shamrock Rovers take a slight 1-0 lead advantage into the second leg, return leg back home in Ireland next week after beating Molde. See here that Real Betis beat 3-0 against Ghent, and Hadiam take a 2-1 lead against Copenhagen, who should lost at home, where Hadiam is in the bottom half in the Bundesliga as well. So yeah, Chris, you're right. City imploded late on. They really lost to Leighton Orient last weekend, that could have been imploded. But I would like to ask, do you think, to all of it, everyone, do you think with Man City, the financials going to affect them if they get knocked out the Champions League? I want to hear your opinions on this and give me what you say, because it's going to be interesting about this one, because it could be a huge part, even though Man City, going through their legal battles and look like they're going to win one or two of them, but we'll see how they advantage age. But I want to see is this going to affect Man City's financially? If they get knocked out of Champions League with loads of prize money, it could be affected, or even though the top, it could be the top five, because if we get the extra place in Champions League, Man City will claim it, because we will go and talk about Chelsea, and after spending 1.5 billion spent and no striking side. What a thumping loss for Chelsea to lose 3-0 to Brighton last night. And like I said, they didn't have a shot on target at all. They're missing Nicholas Jackson through his injury as well. They forked out for about £445 million on forwards. Who's we're not seeing Christoph Nkunku getting any games. João Felix going on loan to AC Milan as well. It's of the strikers are really not looking good as other strikers. Matt Gulu, David Washington, and Fofana have all cost £34 million, and they're not really looking at ready for the Premier League. Cole Palmer is been out of form. He's not scored goals in the last couple of games as well. Yeah, it's a very interesting for injury crisis. I just don't think Chelsea will get into the Champions League as well. I think Chelsea will miss out. I think you look at Newcastle, how Newcastle are doing in that matter of fact. Newcastle probably can take the advantage because Chelsea have only won two of the last five, well, 6 games at the moment. So Newcastle's probably been an overformed team other than Bournemouth and Brighton. I think it's going to be interesting. Yeah, you're right, Chris. Man City burnt out after playing so many past seasons, and they do need a huge refresh. It's like what's happened last week in the Super Bowl. Everyone thought the Kansas City Chiefs was going to do the three-peat of becoming back-to-back Super Bowl champions for the first time until the Philadelphia Eagles whooped their asses completely in the first 3 quarters until the Chiefs came back slowly. But as I said, it sums up. It means that it's going to be a huge. It's going to be a huge rebuild as well. Completely, I think it will be. Chris says Manchester City seemed to fall off last season. Well, see, he's the thing. Leicester fall off. See, that did. I think the fans was frustrated in a way of how they did it fall off because they got to the league title because it was us, Chris. It was Leeds that falled off after the international break. Leicester capitalized on us. They had a fall off in the bit between January to the March international break last season, and they and then we dipped so badly, fall off. They seem to come back, but as I said, a lot of fans were a bit frustrated, it was, but at least they got the promotion Leicester did last season. But as I said, it's just I think them not getting a striker in January also like Arsenal is going to cost them the top four. I think teams like not the Forest. I feel like Forest are going to get it now. It would be laughable if they actually finish above Arsenal in second place at the end of the season. It would be laughable if that was before if they really did that. Man City, I think Chelsea will miss out completely. I think so. I think it's between Man City. I think it's between Man City, Chelsea, Newcastle, and particularly Bournemouth as well are going to be get challenging for that last two places. As well. Don't get top four. It's a massive failure. It can be for certain clubs. We know Man City have not since Pep's come in has never finished below fourth. So that's going to be interesting to see how Man City will deal with it. Because at the moment, with Chelsea being unbeaten, and so did Liverpool towards in the league phase, I think the top four will get the extra spot. That's going to happen. But I think the top four is vital for Man City in terms of the prize money completely. I think for Newcastle, or Bournemouth, or Brighton, fifth place is good is good is good for any of those teams. I just think Chelsea's with their form with the squad they have, they need a proper number. Look, Nicholas Jackson is a good number 9 striker. He's proven that. But when he's injured, they need a backup who can deliver the goals as well. And I think that's what Man City is trying to do with Masuna, who's come in as well. I think Newcastle will invest, getting a striker in the summer. I think Callum Wilson's been, will probably will move away with his injury record. I think Bournemouth will get up front with Justin Clive and then Valenson will come back as well. I think Brighton, I think that with Rutter, Welbeck have been doing the goods for them up front. I think Villa, especially they have a bit of a minus goal difference out of the other top 10 teams. They're on -3. I think if they can get the way the goals records and the defense were sorted out, then I think it's going to be interesting of how they finish. Yeah, fifth place is going to be between the two. Yeah, we're at the moment, Chris, in the coefficient we are ahead of the other. I think it's between us and Italy, and I think Spain as well at the moment. City will get third, maybe second. The way Asker's sister, and I think Newcastle will get fourth or fifth. It's interesting. I think looking at Forest's record, they've not, because I think they've been the third best team to not concede a lot of goals. I think they're 27th at the moment. So Arsenal's got the best goal record at the moment with 20, against 22. But as I said, I think the goal difference, the between third and seventh place, all of them got the same goal difference of 13. So I think this is going to be an interesting battle of, like say, fourth or fifth. You say you think Newcastle Forest will get fourth or fifth, and you know in like say Man City, you think Forest, who do you think will get that last spot? Then we know Liverpool will get it. As Man City will get third, maybe second. Do you think Arsenal will still stay in the top four, Chris, as well? Like you just said, I was wondering actually that because I think Arsenal will get it no matter what, despite they've drawn a lot more games than Forest, yourselves, and City, Newcastle, where they are at the moment. So yeah, I just think it's deep down. I think where it is at the moment. Yeah, I think the way it is. I just think yeah, you think he fancies about the top 6 too? I think Chelsea will drop down. It was mad considered there were two, but yeah, there were two. But half of were talking about it, were they in for the title race? And I think it was so much earlier because of what's been going on. They needed to get stability of the squad they have, with Cole Power not scoring as much as well. So it's going to be interesting top 6 finish or where this is going to happen because with that extra Champions League spot, it's going to be dependent on where everyone is with the cup competition. If Man City wins it or stuff, but I think sixth and seventh, the sixth and seventh place is going to be interesting. I think both could get into Europe this season. I think depending on what they do, I think if they finish sixth, it'll be good for them hugely, and Brighton will get into the Conference League spot if Aston Villa don't get further on. But it's been a good year. I think we're now seeing the usual top four now breaking the pack now as we're seeing teams other teams are now joining in, and do I see Nottingham Forest as one of the big top teams? Not say top teams like big teams like Liverpool and Arsenal, but I think they are on their way at the moment. The way they've been after the last 2 seasons battling relegation, and they've done the right thing despite the FFP, the PSR shit. They have done quite well to get the squad they have. So it's going to be interesting some for them if they do get into the Champions League. They're going to invest heavily on a really good squad that has got some really good young gems in there as well. Yeah, uh, just show Chelsea were actually good defensive attacking wise. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Oh yeah, of course, Villa forgot about them. I think that's open too. I think Villa have a good chance to win the FA Cup. I think with Manchester United, I just cannot see the teams that left in the FA Cup run completely. As I said, they got going against Cardiff, they got a good chance to get to the quarter final. I think Burnley with their with them being in the cup, I think they're gonna be. I think that Burnley are gonna have an Achilles heel because now they're still in the FA Cup, unlike Leeds, Sheffield United, and Sunderland. They're gonna have more extra games they're gonna have to deal with the squad rotation. I think Crystal Palace may have a good decent chance with despite this poor start, they've been a little bit more stability now. They're against Millwall. Millwall have been for that, as well. Yeah, and City if we're not convinced either. Same with I wouldn't say Manchester United. Manchester United are not favourites as well, Chris. I totally agree with that. They get Fulham as well. And Newcastle home to Brighton. I think it's between Villa, I think Crystal Palace, even though they're not convinced at the moment, Man City, but they still can get through. And Newcastle or Brighton, I think they're the two teams. And I'll give Nottingham Forest as well to a mention as well to challenge for the FA Cup. It's going to be very very interesting to raise the final to Wembley when the next game's played in less than 2 weeks time, around about 2 weeks time on around the 1st of March, so the March weekend, so the first March weekend. So I think this is going to be a very very interesting weekend FA Cup run for those teams that we've mentioned. And I agree as well. I think it's just going to be a massive, massive opportunity for one of those teams to get into the Europe because, as I said, if for Bournemouth and Wolves are struggling at the moment. But for Plymouth, if Plymouth can try to do what they did to Liverpool away at Etihad and give Man City a run for their money, I think it's going to be interesting. It could be, I wouldn't say another shot, but you never know. It could be another giant killing moment again for one of the small teams, lower ranked teams left, which is Plymouth at the moment. So I think it's going to be a very, very interesting FA Cup fifth round to the quarterfinals towards in the next few weeks as well. So yeah, I just think at the moment with how the results are, the table is for most of the leagues, it's been interesting enough how Liverpool's done well on the slot despite as well. So, but like I said, Chris, as I said, I agree with you. I said the same thing the other day on the championship group chat, Leeds were disappointed not getting knocked out, but they said it could help Liverpool go straight for the league. It's same for us as well too. For both you, for us, Leeds and Liverpool, we need to focus on the league, which is more vital for us. I think that's what kind of cost because we were still there for cut for quite a bit as well. You guys did well despite it was Klopp's last season. You were close to getting to win the league last season against Man City as well. So as I said, as I said, what's more important, winning the Premier League in front of the Cop or winning the FA Cup at Wembley? I would say more winning the Premier League in front of the fans because when you last won it, it was it was that COVID season when it was tough for your team to win the first Premier League trophy, in the Premier League era. So I think this is important if you win it in front of the Anfield crowd. That's so important. It means so much to you guys completely as well. So I just think it's going to be an interesting end in not just I think the title race, but I think the top four in the Premier League and also in the Championship who gets that last few spots, especially what's going on at Blackburn and say less about Derby at the moment. The loss to the way they lost to QPR last night, 4-0 as well. And is this going to be a sideways move for John Eustace? If Derby don't stay up the season, it's going to be huge as well. Yeah, yeah, it often was just too much. Just we saw burnt out. Yeah, and that's a question: is the burnt out when you won the Carabao Cup not last season, the season before against Chelsea with the group of the kids that you had with Bobby Clark and Jaden Jaden Dans. They came in as well. I think you got a very good complete squad that you have of the rotations. I think now you now at least you now focus on two cup runs rather than the 3 or 4, which just gets so well. You've got the Carabao Cup final coming up in a few weeks' time as well. I think as well, Chris. It was it was shocking, but not shocking enough. It's for what I've been hearing the story. It's about Blackburn. I think John Eustace did get a bit of a money to improve the squad at Blackburn. There was rumors going on for a bit of the squad needed a bit improved for January at Blackburn. I think Blackburn with the Venke's been there for such a long time. I don't know how they had £500,000 release clause as well, and I don't know who's going to come in and replace it. And for what I've been hearing, they have been linked with Steve Cooper, who's available. So that could be the interesting name that's going to happen in the next couple of days, next couple of hours and days, if he does become the next manager. Because where Blackburn is at the moment, they need to now actually, to get that top five because the fifth and sixth place is open for grabs at the moment. Such as Bristol City, Sheffield Wednesday, Middlesbrough, Coventry has been on a good run until the loss to us, and QPR, and I think they have a good chance to try to get into the last two places. And I think seeing Norwich have been struggling a bit in the last couple of games as well. So if the last two places everything to play for, but I think West Brom will get in. I think Toby Moore will AJ. It's that final spot. I think Bristol City. I talked about they've had some key injuries that's going to result in for the rest of the season as well. They got a big game against Cardiff as well this weekend in the Severn Derby as well. Every people that struggle the season, yeah, it will be a bit of bill for Yusuf if Blackburn Derby get relegated and Blackburn get worse or better. It is going to be interesting with that one. So, you know, as I said, with the bad news for Bristol City, with Luke McNally is out for the rest of the season with an ACL injury. So it's what Anthony said early on in the chat. It's now get to top six or bust, and it's going to be questions of what will happen over the course of the season as well. So no, I think it's going to be an interesting effect on each in the top four leagues in England completely. I think as well. It's just how do you manage it toward now to the run to the March international break, and then after that late running form to the last game in May, and as well as the FA Cup, as well as the Champions League final. If Liverpool get to the Champions League final, same with Chelsea if they get to the Conference League final, it's going to be a huge effect on certain teams are challenging for for champion to win the league or get to the playoffs or to stay into some to not get relegated. So it's going to be an interesting next 3 months of intense football during between now the Easter around the Easter break as well as towards the end of the season. Yeah, same with Matt Bloomfield as well too, Chris. I think as well. Managed to leave Wickham and Wickham doing the Plymouth, and don't get promoted. Yeah, it's like I said, it could be a double whammy for Luton if they get relegated this season after a back to back. Just nearly staying in the Premier League last season. Now they could be going down to League One and they still have the parachute money if it went down to League One. They're going to have to be, it's going to be interesting running for all the teams that we've mentioned in the last 5 or 10 minutes of this content completely. I think it's madness, like I said, with Matt Bloomfield going. And I was surprised he went to Luton, but if Luton can do something to get a result, get Sheffield United, sorry, I think it will. I think Leeds can. That means if Leeds can get a win against Sunderland on Monday, I think it's going to be huge. It's going to be interesting running. It's going to be interesting for Leeds, to I hope we beat Sheffield United next week after next weekend because I don't where they play because the way they got smashed against Hull was joyful and I want us to do the same to them as well because I think Sheffield United will give a run for them money completely. But I think now we focus on the game against Sunderland and then another Monday night game the week after. And then we've got a decent run in. I think we don't have to play any of the top 4 teams now against us. I think that's our last run. I think for us, I think Leeds have got with their running. I'm just looking at here at the moment. Leeds are how they got to play after the games against Sunderland and Sheffield United. We've got West Brom at home, Portsmouth away, Millwall at home, QPR away, Swans at home, after the international break against Swansea, and then Luton away, Middlesbrough away, Press at home, Oxford away, Stoke at home, Bristol City, which is our last home game of the season, and then the last game is against Plymouth as well away. So, which will be interesting running. So it will be. Ooh, my emotions. Yeah, I feel you, Chris. Liverpool in the league can't get so long emotions. Will this be like Carlisle's first relegation to non-league for such a long time? How many years when the last time they dropped out of the football league? So I want to know that history because I don't know because I have never seen him get dropped out of the football league during my lifetime and your lifetime as well. That would be interesting. How many years has it been for Carlisle to get relegated out of the football league? Because I want to know that because it must be a long time. Yeah, it's just carnage is going to be all over the place for double the teams as well, for majority of our teams as well. So, yeah, no, it's going to be an interesting weekend as well, completely. Do you know what? I'm going to give my Premier League predictions quickly as possible because I want to make sure that I want to finish on the high of the show as well. So I'll just get all my stuff what I put on about the. I've gone for an easy 2-0 win for Arsenal against Leicester today. I did get the Brighton Chelsea right, even though Brighton winning, but Chelsea with the scoreline I did get right. I put 2-1 as well. First, ooh, wow, yeah, 2003. That's nearly 20 years, over 20 years. Then, wow, that's quite long. So, yeah, be interesting that one, Chris. All right, so here's my predictions. So I've gone for Arsenal for a 3-1 win. Villa to win against Ipswich 3-1. I'm going for a 2-2 draw between Fulham and Forest. I've gone for a 6-goal thriller between Man City and Newcastle in a score draw 3-3. Southampton to lose to Bournemouth 2-0. I've gone for one more draw between West Ham and Brentford. Easy 3-0 win for Liverpool against Wolves. Man United to win just 2-1 against Spurs. And Everton to lose 2-1 against Palace as well. I know there is a fixture between Aston Villa against Liverpool as well. I'm going to go maybe just a script a 2-1 win for Liverpool as well too as well. Yeah, it's been a complete mess since new owners came in. Kept since for too long. Wilson had no clue. Houston got impossible job to work with trash basically. Yeah, especially after the transfer window as well. So it's going to be an interesting running, Chris. It will as well. yeah, you don't blame Hughes if everyone else got the blood in their hands completely. Yeah, I totally agree. I think the way you close me around the new owners is not there's not been no stability of what they need, to try to stay up in the football league. Because when you're out of the football league, getting back into it is quite difficult. We've seen that with Wrexham. We've seen that with some of the other teams like York City, amongst other teams as well. It's just going to be a really interesting, and especially with his solidarity payments coming from the Premier League as well. Barnet is also doing quite well. York City, Forest Green Rovers, they're charging Oldham. Gateshead could have, Halifax Town not been back in the football league for a long time. Rochdale out the playoff along with Hartlepool, South End, Sutton United, Yeovil Town, Dagenham Redbridge, Aldershot Town, and Boston United, and it's a hard lead and actually to get out of when you get relegated from the football league because it's a lot different as well. So yeah, you know what? I'm hopeful, Chris. You can, could be another Jimmy Glass moment. I did watch the documentary earlier this week. So yeah, hopefully one of your goalkeepers could score the winner for you to stay up. I always got the money, but wasted badly because they're not football people. No clue about football. Disrespect. Need better people around them. Yeah, 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 especially when the owners come in, they don't know, they don't have proper football people. Then you're in for the shit. Just like what's going on at Spurs under Daniel Levy as well. So you're in the complete shit completely. So yeah, I just think at the moment it's going to be interesting running for most of the leagues in England and in Scotland and of course around Europe as well. So but as I said, I am going to finish off with the show. As a thank you for Chris and Anthony for messaging in as well. Thank you to Michael Barris for talking to me earlier this week for the head of the match preview as well. As I said, I will hopefully tomorrow. Well, I won't be live tomorrow even to do the championship review, but I will upload it on Monday as well for the head of Leeds and Sunday game. I think it's absolute disgrace. We get really unacceptable, in my opinion. At least accepting this is what we got, where we got League One budget. Yeah, exactly. It's like Huddersfield Town, you know, in League One. They have a championship budget, but in League One, but from what the ownership, they have a League One budget when they was in the championship. So they have to rotate that now to have a championship budget. So yeah, hopefully, Chris, I'm hopeful, if you can do the impossible, I think you get out of it. But it's just so hard at the moment where you're 6 points behind Tranmere Rovers and 9 points behind Harrogate's Accrington Stanley. But hopefully it is. But no, thank you, Chris. As is a great show, as always, appreciate that to everyone as well. But like I said, I will be back with you next Saturday at 11 a.m. with some more content of the key weekend games as well, and catching up on all the European roundup later, early in the week, next week coming up. Yeah, and also, yeah, we'll see what happens this week. Ahead of, we'll talk about the previews of the Sheffield United against Leeds United. I will hopefully try to get some guests on. I hope I will speak to see what Turf Millhouse TV Dan is doing next weekend. I'll get to see some of the other guys as well. And hopefully we'll have Doug as well too as well. We can get him on at some point during the course of the season. I know he's not doing much as live stuff now. He's doing a lot of the pre-recorded stuff, especially he works on some Saturdays as well. But yeah, we should be back on next weekend as well. Chris, I said you can't score, but at Blackburn Amusements, yeah. I feel you, man. I feel you. I feel your pain completely. I feel your pain. It's the last chance saloon. It's the home from the last chance saloon. Yeah, it's going to be important for you guys. It really is. But yeah, as I said, thank you very much for the end of the show. That's me for this weekend. I'm going to chill out this weekend. Well, have a bit of decent chill out this weekend. But I'll see you guys at the same time next Saturday at 11 a.m. But like I said, all have a good weekend and have everyone having a late Valentine's Day. Have a good weekend as well. And take it for now. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.